All right, so thank you for tuning in, chomping at the bit. Kyle Edwards, of course. This episode, I want to take a look at MLS. Now, it's been a few weeks now, I think like 3 weeks ago. MLS announced a streaming deal with Apple TV Plus. So I want to kind of break down what we kind of know about it so far, and I guess give you some things I'm optimistic about, because after hearing quickly about the partnership the two of them have, I do think that this is a great opportunity for MLS to, continue its growth, to, publicize some of their talent, just get more eyeballs on the product. And for a league like MLS, which has been constantly trying to find its footing amongst the major sports that we, have established in the U.S., I think something like this could definitely help with that. So, like I said, go through some key points from some articles that I've seen about it and give you my thoughts. And then, at the end, hopefully, you are as optimistic as I am. And, so obviously what we see is that a lot of these sports leagues are going, making deals with streaming services now, because in this day and age, a lot of people, that's how they get their entertainment. The days of old where everybody was signing up for cable packages, those days are gone. So to reach a further audience, you're going to have to reach out to a streaming service. So like I said, we're going to talk about MLS and Apple TV. So I think we might as well just go ahead and get started with that. And so looking at it, it's for the next 10 years, $2.5 billion. That's a pretty big investment from Apple TV. When I first heard that Apple TV was getting into it, seems like Apple TV, this is kind of the direction they're going, because it was like a few weeks ago where I saw like a Red Sox game on Apple TV. So they're kind of dipping their toe into the MLB pool. And then now they've just gone full blown with this MLS deal. And I couldn't help but think about maybe the success of Ted Lasso on the, network. I wonder if that played into maybe their interest with MLS. And I do hope that maybe with the Ted Lasso popularity, that kind of gives us some clues into what Apple TV may do with MLS programming, which I'll get into in a little bit here. But yeah, so like I said, Apple TV Plus, which we know, I think it's a little bit more than Apple TV, but a good part of this partnership is that Apple will still put like some games for free, I guess, on Apple TV. That way, if you don't want to pay for TV Plus, you can still gain access to MLS games. I think that's a key point there as well. Maybe you can convince some people, well, for Apple's side of this, maybe by offering some free games, they convert some Apple TV subscribers into Apple TV Plus, which puts more money in their pocket, and it's a win-win that way. They can still actually be on cable TV, which I think was an interesting part of the partnership that I saw. So even though they'll have their Apple TV Plus stuff, Apple TV stuff, they could still technically, sell games or whatever to ESPN, or I guess Fox Sports if they wanted to, or CBS Sports, and take care of viewership that way. For once again, not everybody has Apple TV or is even interested in Apple TV, so why not cover all bases? I don't think I've heard anything in terms of that aspect if they're going to continue with ESPN while doing this Apple TV stuff. But it's still interesting that that is an option for them. And even the $2.5 billion is a minimum payment. So I guess if MLS popularity grows, continues to grow and grow and grow, the deal could be for a little bit more, which then means, you know, more money for the clubs. And then that trickles down into the talent of each team. Now, you know, clubs can get more designated players. Maybe they could be viable options for more players internationally, because we have seen an influx of some, you know, European talent. For the most part, they've kind of been on the back nine of their career. Because what was it, last week? Gareth Bale signed with LAFC. But you go back, you had Beckham, Wayne Rooney, Zlatan, Ibrahimovic, who, I mean, he was you know, walking entertainment, and so on and so on. And of course, we'll see more of it in the future. But now with this, if MLS can continue to grow, maybe somewhere in the future, you know, they start getting in young prize talent, you know, maybe stealing away from some European clubs. I mean, that would be the ultimate goal, I'm sure, for MLS. Not saying that they're anywhere close to that, but hey, they can dream. Now, I did see in the article, like, MLS looking at expansion. So St. Louis, and some people think possibly Vegas, which, you know, that Vegas is a big market for sports right now. So I guess they get included into this as well, whenever that does happen. You know, that's all the kind of, that was like the important stuff. But the most important thing of the partnership was I was looking at Apple looking to do, you know, production, like programming for MLS. They want to do a whip around show, which is going to kind of rival Red Zone. So basically, you know, a bunch of games going on. Whenever, I guess, a team's on an attack, maybe they're, putting a serious attack towards the net, you know, they can cut to that real quick. You can watch the build up. So that way you're always seeing teams on the attack. I think that's a great idea, because we've seen when Red Zone first came out, some people were like, but now, I mean, it's wildly popular. And, well, for the main part, that you're constantly seeing, you know, scoring plays or big plays, and you're whipping around. And with this era of fantasy sports, that made Red Zone such a big deal. Because if you play fantasy football, biggest thing is touchdowns. So if you see, and well, with a roster of players on different teams, it's hard to keep track of all that when you're sitting home watching a game or two at a time, you know, flipping channels. So with Red Zone, you could keep track of your players when it's possible for them to get you points for your fantasy team. That creates interest. Now, MLS, there is fantasy soccer, so now this will become their version of Red Zone. Love that. They're gonna up the actual production on TV, because this is one thing I actually didn't even know, and I watch MLS. Maybe because I wasn't paying attention to it, but you know, it's right now broadcast in 720 and 1080i. They're gonna bump that up to 1080p, so it's gonna look, so visually it's gonna be better on TV. That's a plus. They said Apple also has plans of doing kind of like the Premier League model, where most of the games are, I think, like Wednesday, Saturday. It's kind of how Premier League does it. And Apple wants to do the same thing with MLS. So now you're going to have blocks of games, certain days. So you'll know, let's say they do Thursday, Saturday or something. Now, as an MLS fan or whatever, you can plan your week around, okay, Saturday, games, watching them. Depending on the slate for like a Thursday midweek or something, you're watching maybe a smaller group of games that day. But you know, Saturday, boom, you're sitting down all day just watching soccer. We'll be interested to see which days they take. Actually, the article did say they wanted to do the whip around show on Saturday night, so clearly they're going to do a large chunk of their games on the schedule Saturday nights. So that's a plus, because right now your team could play one week like I don't know, Wednesday at 7. Next week they could be Saturday at 1. Following week could be Saturday 5 o'clock. And you know, I guess this way is going to keep it a little bit more regimented, and you just know, plan your sport viewing schedule around certain blocks that you know will be constant each week. And I guess the last part of it, which could be the biggest part, is they want to do MLS programming as well. Now, in the beginning of the episode, you remember I talked about, could Ted Lasso have had some type of influence on Apple TV wanting to get into the MLS market? So I'm assuming you've all watched Ted Lasso. If you haven't, you should check it out. It's a great show. I think season 3 supposed to be coming soon. Very excited for that. But if you look at Ted Lasso, yes, it follows a soccer club over in England, but the show it forms a story around the action on the field, where you're learning about players' backgrounds, what they're going through in their personal lives. Ted Lasso, who's the coach, you learn about his life, some of the stuff he's gone through, stuff like that. I think that's going to be a great way for MLS to grow an audience, because if Apple TV decides to do something like that with these MLS players and managers and stuff like that, think along the lines of Hard Knocks in the NFL, where you get behind the scenes looks at, you know, NFL teams, you know, what goes on during team meetings and practicing on the field. When it comes down to cut down day, you get that raw emotion of, you know, a coach telling a player they've been cut, the player, you know, giving you raw reaction to that kind of news, and then you get attached to certain players. You feel for them if they don't make the team in the end, or you cheer them if it's, you know, the guy from the small school that makes the team. So now when you go into the regular season, you're keyed in on those players, wondering how they're doing. So for MLS, if they do something like that and, you know, really get into some of the players' stories, because I'm sure, like a lot of you, if you are an MLS fan, you don't know about every player. If you're not an MLS fan, you definitely don't know. You probably wouldn't know who the biggest names are in MLS. So if they go this route, which I'm hoping they would, because it does say that they want to get into like storytelling and non-game day content, then, you know, you can make household names out of the superstars of MLS. And that's just all in all a great thing. I think one little thing I missed was, you know, Apple TV, I think they have it on ESPN Plus as well, but they're going to, you know, show not only MLS games, but MLS Next, which is like the youth clubs attached to the MLS teams. So now you're creating like an assembly line where you can watch MLS Next to see the new crop that will be coming in a couple of years down the line, while watching, of course, the main product on the field. And if you follow your team, now you're invested in kind of like the minor league system of MLS, which, with baseball, you follow your team, you know about your hot prospects coming up through the system. This is a way to get involved with all that. So Apple TV does this right. It could be like an all-encompassing, just large, deal in terms of one, reining in the possible places to watch all this stuff into one centralized place with the whip around show. The non-game day production, learn backstories about players, get emotionally invested with them, and that's how you can continue to build the fan base. So I think it's a great deal. I guess the one downside maybe is I think local broadcast teams will be going away, which that's going to sting at first, but if they can get the right in-studio personalities that are entertaining, informative, and all that, I think that would hurt less. The worst thing would be you lose your local broadcast, and then the in-studio people aren't that entertaining or compelling. Then you kind of feel like you're getting gypped. So hopefully they get the right people. But that's, I guess, one downside that could be to it. Now, of course, with all this, it doesn't mean that MLS is going to automatically shoot up into the top 3 of pro sports in America. That's not a guarantee, of course. But I do wonder if something like this makes it popular enough where, like I said, more and more talent comes in, the product on the field continues to get better. And is it wrong to think that MLS could surpass like Liga MX, which, if you don't know, that's the league in Mexico. So a lot of like the domestic cups and stuff are played between MLS and Liga MX, and for the most part, Liga MX dominates the MLS in those cups. Hopefully now this could be a way, with increase in talent and all that, maybe MLS can start winning some of those cups and then maybe leap over them in terms of world ranking of leagues around the world. Of course, Premier League's still the best, but you have your Spanish La Liga, Bundesliga in Germany, and all that, all the way down to MLS, which is not like it's at the bottom, but it's still in the growing stage. So hopefully, like I said, hopefully this makes MLS a bigger deal, because like I said when I started the podcast and everything, soccer was actually my first love, because it was the first sport that I played. So obviously that's the one I was attracted to the most, and I, for one, am a big fan of MLS, and I want it to do well. So I'm hoping that this is that road to prosperity for the league. Will continue prosperity, because they've been around for a good amount of years now. I think since since 96, I think. So but yeah, so let me know what you think. Are you an MLS fan, number one? If you are you as excited for the prospects of this merger as I am? Also, if you are not an MLS fan, would something like what I outlined here make you interested in watching it. Behind the scenes stuff, NFL red zone type programming for MLS. Would you be involved? Would you spend time to actually watch that? Interesting to find out. So you definitely know. Let me know down in the comment section. If you haven't followed me yet, please do on Twitter at Chompin Podcast. You can let me know there as well, because I do post the episodes on Twitter as well. So down underneath those videos, you can let me know there as well. But yeah, it's interesting to see where sports are going at this point, with streaming services becoming such a big thing. We're seeing a lot of leagues make deals with streaming services. Paramount Plus has a lot of sports there. Now you got Apple TV getting into it. Obviously, you got ESPN Plus, Peacock. So I guess that's another thing. Do you think at some point it might become too much? Where if you follow a lot of leagues, that's a lot of streaming services you have to sign up for. But I just think it's kind of the means to the end at this point. If you're going to get eyeballs, that's how you have to do it. And you can't put them all on one, because then some might get lost in the shuffle. But anyway, so thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed the episode. If you did, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. And once again, go over to Twitter, follow me at Chompin Podcast. Wherever you listen to this, there should be links in the description to various, social media places. But thanks again for tuning in. If this was your first episode, hopefully you liked it enough that you do share, like, subscribe. But you go back, check out some previous episodes, and obviously, let me know what you think about the show. I'm completely open to criticism at this point, or praise. I'll take that as well. But I want to kind of formulate this show around what you want, because I do want to get more interactive with you guys, so definitely let me do that. And remember, I have my first top 5 list episode coming up. I'm going to be doing top 5, well, for me, my top 5 rivalries in sports. But offer any suggestions you may have, and if I choose yours, I will shout you out when I do record the episode where I use your suggestion. And yeah, so I think that's it. So I'll leave you with this. Be safe out there. God bless. And I'll catch you on the next episode. All right, I'm out. Have a good one.